Sohila Bani. But before, I'll start out by reading passage number 2 and go on from there. राग आसा महला पहला छे कर छे गुर छे उपदेश गुर गुर एको वेस अनेक बाबा जय कर करते कीरत होए सो कर राख वडाई तोय रहाओ विसवे चस्या कड़िया पहरा थिती वारी महा हुआ सूरज एको रुत अनेक नानक करते के कीते वेस. Let me offer a quick 5-minute summary of what I understand about this Shabad. Maybe I'll go line by line, offer a conclusion on this Shabad, and then we can open up for a panel discussion. Ekar, Hegur, Updesh. So from what I understand, Guru Nanak here in this passage is saying that there are different schools of thought, their teachers and their teachings. Gur Gur Eko Base Anek. However, those teachers and teachings, they all derive from essentially one source of knowledge or truth, and that truth manifests itself in various forms. Baba Jai Kar Karte Kirat Hoye, So Kar Rakh Vadai Toye Rahao. Nanak is saying that among this multitudes that we see around us, that one, the one who keeps the Creator in his heart, that is the real abode of one. So Kar Rakh Vadai Toye. That is where the one really lives. Viswe Chasya Kadiya Pehra Thitti Vari Maha Hua. These are all indicatives or units of time, seconds and hours and days and months. Suraj Ekorut Anek, and there is one sun, and that one sun it gives rise to multiple seasons. Nanak Karte ke kete ways. Similarly, Nanak is saying that there is one creator that gives rise to the multitude of experiences, forms, or conditions. So, to summarize this short passage, what I think the message Guru Nanak is conveying, and it's a very powerful message that the way I see it is that among the various forms and fragments of society, it's all the play of one creator, and all the forms and conditions and experiences, they're they're all arising from this one. The one is giving rise to all this play that we see around. If there is no, similarly, if there is no sun, Guru Nanak gives an example of Suraj Ekorotane. If there is no sun, there are no seasons. There's no play. So similarly, everything that we see around us, the universe, that's the play that arises from the one. And there is also another connected message here that I'm getting from this, and that message is of impermanence. Similar to the seasons don't last forever. One season gives way to another, and so no season is permanent. Weather changes, forms change, conditions change. So nothing Guru Nanak is saying is worth attaching to. It's like everything is impermanent, and uh, basically what sort of derives from this message of impermanence is non-attachment, and that's the message Guru Nanak is driving home at. Baba Jai Kar Karte Kirat Hoye, So Kar Rakh Vadai Doye. So among this all impermanence and the play of forms that we see, which is constantly changing every minute, uh, if everything is liable to change, Guru Nanak is basically asking us why are we attaching ourselves to whatever we are attaching to. It's just a temporary phenomena that has arisen and will eventually die out. So this is what I understand. I think now we'll open it up to the panel, and I see uh, Kulwant Kaur Penji, Meena Penji, Ravinder Virji, and I see one more caller. I'm not sure who it is on the line, but
Gurdeep uncle.
okay, we have the Deep uncle. Welcome, Uncle. So let me go to Ravinder Virji first. Ravinder Virji, would you like to open up and share your thoughts on what you understand, your thoughts on this passage?
Um, sure. Um, so I think a good starting point would be the previous Shabad, even though we've already touched on it, because these Shabads are sometimes there's a theme running through. And I think that the last time we talked a little bit, at least I certainly did, talk about the fact that the the choice of Sula is because these are songs of joy as well as songs of sadness and are sung typically in weddings, although they're sung elsewhere. But the point about the wedding that I'm trying to make is that it is for the bride, it is the crossing of a threshold. And I think that is what we need to bear in mind, that she's crossing the threshold of her father's house, stepping into her husband's house, and is overcome with anxiety, pangs of separation. But at the same time, she's also full of anticipation about what is to come. I think the analogy of a bride feeling the sort of feelings that we have talked about are similar to, is what this Shabad is trying to tell us, is to overcome our fear, the mind, and actually step into the threshold of the unknown to actually reach where we are supposed to reach. And fear is what is inhibiting, fear is what holds us back. And therefore, we need to sing to the fearless one, Sole, Nirbhauka Soila. So I think these passages are suggesting, hinting, advising that we need to cross into a more elevated consciousness. And that is how I see it. And then if we come to today's passage, uh, essentially we are talking about six major systems of thought, which I think all of you know that in India, that is the spectrum of Indian philosophy, uh, to which Guru Nanak, they're also called Khat Shastra. And, just in case you're interested, I mean, they are Sankhya, Nyaya, Visheshak, Mimamsa, Yoga, and Vedanta. And each one of these has a founder. There is a name attached to it. Kapil, Gautam, Kannad, Jayaman, Patanjali, and Vyas, respectively, right? But the real, I think, thrust here is which school does one follow? And Guru Nanak's advice is very telling here because he's not criticizing any particular school of thought at all. He's simply listing them out. He's just saying you have this spectrum of thought available to you, but he's reminding you that they are all ascribed to a single source, namely a Kalpurusha. And so, what he's basically, his counsel is that, at least the way I understand it, is that no particular scripture, no particular school of thought is being recommended or debunked. What that tells me is that Guru Nanak is telling us, in his own way, not to get caught up in any kind of ideology, because an ideology is not going to take you over the threshold into the unknown, or as we say in Gurmat lingo, Karya Hirda, into your deepest center. So, because ideologies, whether it is that of Sankhya or Nyaya or Visheshak or any ideology will draw boundaries around you. So you notice he's constantly coming back to the fact that he's talking about cultivating virtues. He's saying, but oh my mind, in the text where praise is given to that one align yourself. Baba jai kar karte kirt hoye, so kar rakh vadai toy. So this is the Rahao Tuk, and I think this is the suggestion. The kar here is obviously, as you know, and Gurjeet Singh Veer ji is not here, but he's going to call it Hirda, which is your deepest center. You have to, and that is the unknown. You have to cross the threshold of your limited conditioning where we live in Haume, which is limited, but we are afraid of giving up what is familiar to us. But here's the key. So ghar raak vadai toy. Vadai has been interpreted as being given honor, but I checked Gurbani and it is consistently used for naam. So I think the key to me here is that in order to cross over into this threshold, to go to the car, you have to drop all ideologies. You have to drop all philosophies. You have to really man ki patri vachiye pai, as Sri Pacha has said. You have to really deal with your own mind. You have to understand your own mind. You have to read your own mind. And that is really the process. So that's my take on it. Vagde Khalsa Vari Fateh.
Amazed with the first passage, and especially the point that you were driving, not to get caught up in an ideology. And I would like to maybe come to you back in the second round and maybe throw out a question like, we are coming from a Sikh ideology or Sikh point of view. So maybe we can come back to that later. But Hanji Kulwan Kaur Bhen ji.
Hanji, my Khalsa Fateh, I think I agree with, personally, I agree with, you can hear me, right?
Hanji, Hanji.
Hello? अच्छा हाँ
Yes,
जी
we can
क्योंकि
hear you.
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਚੇਤਨ ਦੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਨਾ ਥੋੜੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਠੀਕ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਵੀਰ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ that's why I was wondering ਕਿ ਮੇਰੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਠੀਕ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, that's good. I think I agree with Ruchi that even though, you know, when I read this like Che Kar, Che Gur, Che Updes, Gur Gur Eko, Vesanik, I feel the same way that we should not get caught up in, even though we have all different ideologies or different view, different philosophies, but the main objective and the goal ਸਭ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਇੱਕੋ ਹੀ ਹੈਗਾ, you know, no two ideologies or philosophies can be similar, but that does not mean that, you know, we should think like you said we came from Sikh ideology ke sadi ideology better than the others. So they are all going to be, they are all aspiring for the same thing. They all have the same objective, same goal. I feel the same way too, but I am wondering how this Shabad is related to the previous Shabad that we did before last week. You know, in the last week's Shabad, for me, it has the theme. What I was thinking is, you know, not to forget our mortality, that we are mortal, we have to leave this world, and so we should not forget that. And how does this one is relating to that Shabad? I'm wondering. I don't know if you can throw some light on that.
Yeah, I think Ravinder Virji touched on that. Basically, the crossing of the threshold for the bride, and the way I see it is, the last passage. It was an invitation, like "Tum gavo mere nirpau ka Sohila," and again here it is like "Baba jai kar karte kirat hoye." So it's an invitation to cross over the threshold and really experience for what it is. But we can talk about it more maybe in the next round if anybody has more comments on the connection. But for this round, let me move on to Gurdeep uncle.
ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. I know Ravinder Virji explained it very well. The thing is, there are two ways. One is Nijikar, which is within us, which we have ignored. nijkar vasa hoye. So our race is here to get into that nijkar which is within us. This is one aspect of it. Other race is that like the bride goes to the bridegroom's house after the marriage, and as Vindu already explained, there's a sadness, there's a happiness, both feelings are there eventually. So this is Sohila is that song which we sing during the marriages. So actually, in my opinion, marriage is when we get death and we have to go to another planet or anywhere else we don't know, but we have to leave this body, but we have a something Jeev, and we can achieve Atma, the spirit that doesn't die. Now the spirit has to get back to her original home where it came from. So how to get back? Then this is a process here. Before the marriage, we have to sing these songs, we sing the divine hymns, we do all those kind of efforts. I know the Shastra, they tell us different ways, but there's only Guru, Eko, there's Guru and the Guru, there's only one. Then there are a lot of things, like there's only one sun, and we are so many. We got spring, we got fall, we got summer, we got winter. All these seasons are created from one sun. So similarly, the one God who has created everything, we go through this, Chasiya Kadiyan Pare Titi Varima Hua Surya Ko Rut Anek Nanak Karte Ke Kete Ves. With the same token, the one God is doing all these plays on this ground, on this earth. But eventually, our purpose of this is to get back to the source where we came from. So this is how I understand, and then it will explain further and further a little bit more in the next stanza and next and next. And this is also in Guru Granth Sahib as one place is given all together. Then again with Asamalla Pehla, Asamalla Chautha, it will repeat it. Each part of this is coming when the role comes there on the Garbani. When you see the other pages, part of it will come a couple of times. Anyway, thank you. This is what I figured out by myself.
Anji, thank you, Uncle. Meena Panji, your thoughts on this Shabad? Meena Panji, can you hear us?
मेरा connection अच्छा नहीं है. I will be on the listening mode.
Okay, no, we can hear you loud and clear now.
Okay, the only input, I think everybody is doing a wonderful job. Ravinder Virji explained it so very well. ਗੁਰਦੀਪ ਵੀਰ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੁਣ ਪਾਈ, ਮੇਰਾ ਕਨੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਟੁੱਟ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈਗਾ. But ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ I just wanted to add one comment was ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ threshold ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਕਿ it is like crossing the threshold. So every night we cross that threshold. ਸਾਡਾ ਮਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਾਡੀ ਨੂੰ ਛੋੜ ਕੇ ਨਿਕਲ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ. And that's why it is supposed to be done at night, because every night we are crossing the threshold, and it is the same game that will be played at the time of the death, which will be permanent, sort of, until we are reborn, if we are reborn. But just wanted to bring attention to that part.
ठीक है जी, very interesting.
That's it. वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा.
So what I'm actually hearing from everybody and is basically again the message of non-attachment, not to get caught up in any ideology, but in general, I think if we extrapolate this, and Guru Nanak is asking that Nanak karte ke kete ways, so not to get attached to any particular ideology or thing or any worldly form. ठीक है जी. So I think we have done round 1 on this Shabad. Let me go back and start again if we have any additional thoughts. I think Kulwant Panji wanted to know more about the connection between the first and the second Shabad. And before I actually go into round two, I mean, so so far what I have heard in Shabad one and two, I mean, personally, I'm not like, yes, we hear about the bride and we hear about crossing of the threshold, song of joy and sadness both, and there have been talks about death and leaving the body and all that. But for me personally, these two shabads are for here and now rather than for later. And it's the way I see it is Guru Nanak Pacha is saying that an invitation is being extended to you every moment, every day, and take that invitation and uh, go deep into your own heart and discover that Naam that resides, and rather than attaching to the form. That's how I like to see these two shabads. But uh, let me go to Ravinder Virji for round two.
If it's okay with you, Gurjeet Singh Virji sent me a little note that he wants me to share with the participants.
And you please,
Is,
please go ahead.
so this is basically his take on this, and I'm not surprised. The six ghars, he says, I'm reading his text to me. The six ghars are the possible abodes for the man slash buddhi or outer consciousness. These six ghars can offer six gurs of information or informations to the man, which are helpful for physical and spiritual body. Because the same Chetan, outer consciousness that is, revolves through them, which in actuality is born out of our mool, gur, gur with the ankar, gur gur eko, singular being with the ankar. And then he wanted me to read the Shabad on Panna 359. I'm not going to do that. It's the same Shabad, but he's saying it is grammatically more faithful to the way it should be, but so be it. But he does make a point about the best abode is Sokar, Hirda, where the Man and Buddhi are in Rakh, protection, and Vadai will receive the honor. And that is what he is talking about. So that was his input. Now, I actually do want to comment. He's not here, but I will say this, that I actually did a little search on Che and Kar in the Guru Granth Sahib. I spent a little bit of time this afternoon looking at it, and what I found was that Che is consistently applied to the Che Darshan, which is the six philosophies. So we are, I think, not incorrect in assuming that Babaji is referring to the six philosophical systems, the six orthodoxies, Astik. These are the six orthodoxies of the Indian philosophical spectrum. The unorthodoxies are Jainism and Buddhism. Okay, they're not considered orthodox. Um, but coming back to the fact that Che is consistently related with Khat. Che Khat ka kare vichar, Surnar Gun Gandharv, Che Darshan asase, Che Darshana da asas, Che Darshan ki soji paye, right? I mean, and of course, it goes on to say that you may actually know the Che Darshans, but unless you know your own mind. And then coming down to the thresholds, right? So I was speaking strictly about the inner threshold, the threshold of the mind, the threshold of the consciousness. But Meena Panji raises a very interesting point. There are thresholds every day, every moment we are crossing thresholds, and every night we are crossing a threshold of a different kind. I was really focused on, because that is how I see Gurbani in its essence. It's asking us to really elevate our minds to where, and Gurjeet Virji calls it, Buddha and Man coming together, but the idea is the same. This is what Guru Nanak calls the punch, right? The preeminent, the one that is laden with excellence. So we have to cultivate. So Gaviye, Suniye, we have to really cultivate excellences. That is the whole point. And for that, the mind has to expand. So that was the threshold I was talking about, although what was said by Meena Panji is equally valid. And threshold is a spectrum of meanings, just like a lot of things. One point I want to make is Gurbani, when we talk about Shabads, very often, you will find that it lends itself to an external meaning as well. So yes, you can think about the different gradations of the consciousness which Gurjeet Singh Bedi is trying to do. Although I didn't find any evidence in Gurbani, he'd have to explain it. The fact is that it is indeed talking about the six schools. The other thing is, you notice how Guru Nanak, in a few lines, has basically solved the problem of religious intolerance. If you note that, I mean, he's just saying, listen, everything is cool, but here's the real essence of the matter. So I think this is the attitude and the approach that we should all have towards other religions and other religions, because religions do pop up. And I know you'd asked me about ideology. I know where you're going with this. The fact of the matter is that Gurbani is Gurmat. We make an ideology out of it through our own understanding. So ultimately, we have to drop our own ideology of Gurmat that we have sort of picked up and formed and structured in our minds. So that's all I have to say. Waheguru Ji Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Fateh.
Hanji, thank you, Virji. That's all very interesting. And you're right in saying that we turn Gurbani and Gurmat into its own ideology. And if we go into the path of discussing that, I think that will take a long time, because again, we'll have to consider the facts that how do we balance, um, the external identity and ideology. How do we find our own space in the world and all. But one observation that I do have, based on hearing from everybody, is uh, yes, the word this passage starts with the word "che," and it is important. But the, for me, at least to me, I mean, the way I see it is that uh, we shouldn't get hung up on just one word or one line, like "che" and like what exactly it means. Yes, that's important to understand. But I think the message, the bottom line here is to, as you said, the cross the inner threshold of the mind. And I would actually like to know from everybody as we go around the panel that maybe share your daily life experiences on how do you cross that threshold of the mind, or anything that would help all of us on this forum on how to actually do that.
Are you
So
asking me that question?
no, I'm asking everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, like as we go around, let's share our own personal experiences on how do we, in your understanding, how do we cross the inner threshold of the mind, or what techniques have helped you, what helps and what doesn't help. So that said, Kulwant Kaur Panji, your turn.
Hanji, Chetandeep. I think when we talk about ideology, different ideologies, what I was thinking is, like Virji said, Ravinder Virji said, in Guru Granth Sahib, ਸਾਡੇ ਬਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ, we see that we have all from various, backgrounds, ਭਗਤਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਾਣੀ, Hindu, Muslim, Guru Granth Sahib ਇੱਕ ਐਸਾ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ in line, Sari ideologies they have put together, because that, as I said before, beshak different ideologies like an objective and goal is the same. They never condemn, Guru Nanak never condemn anybody. When we talk about crossing the thresholds, I think we are crossing these thresholds because we are every day, every moment, because we are so we are so indulged into life. That's why we forget, we forget our mortality, and That's why we have to cross it every moment, every night. ਅਸੀਂ ਰੋਜ਼ ਜੀਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਮਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. We are having, pain if we understand that nothing is permanent here. If we, I can't say practice. I mean, if we constantly remind ourselves and understand, then, this knowledge is transmitted to us, then we will not be in pain, and we don't have to, do it every moment. We don't have to die every moment. So that's all I think I can say right now.
ठीक है जी. Thank you so much. Gurdeep uncle.
Hello.
हाँ जी, we can
I'm
hear you.
unmuted. I'm okay. Do you hear me?
हाँ जी.
Hello.
हाँ जी, please
You
go
okay?
ahead.
Okay. Now the idea is, whether it's a different ideology, but not very much different, it takes us to the one God, one universality. Because चार पुकारें ना तू माने, खट भी एका बात कही. खट means clear, it's छह शास्त्र. This is out of Gurbani. चार पुकारें, the चार वेद. ना तू माने, खट भी एका बात कही. That means the sense of all this good is similar, is the same, which Guru Nanak tried to take us. So this is what, and then every night I know we have to do renunciate Sohila Sahib. It's like a new life when we wake up the next morning. Gurbani says we are here only for one night. Ek rain ke pahan tum aaye, bahut jug aas vadaye. This is like one night. So that's, I mean, Kulwant Pandey said it's very relevant. Every night we die. It's like getting into another realm when we get up in the morning. So we have to enunciate Sohila. That's what we as a tradition to do it. But Gurbani never condemned anybody, but ultimately it tried to bring us on the right path, which is universal, which is take us to only one, Ek Onkar. So I think here the purpose of this Sohila, all these stanzas we will gonna come, is the purpose is the same actually. And Naam Japo, that's the main purpose. Naam, there's a lot of big explanation for Naam. Everybody give their own explanation. But Naam means you always think of Him, but you live for Him, you die for Him, we eat for Him. Whatever we do, we should not forget Him. Utat bad sovat jagat e mantre chitare. Then one other line in Guru Granth Sahib, Jeevat pekhe, jini har har te aaya, साध संग तिनी darshan पाया. That's the whole essence. Even in this life, yes, we can see that. Jeevat pekhe, there's a difference between dekhna and pekhna. We only see dekhna when we say dekhna. Most of the time, it's mentioned for these eyes, that what we see. But when the word comes pekhna, जो से खड़ियां बयान जिन्ना दसंदो मां पिड़ी पेखो री मैं पेखो सबते ऊंचा मोहन सबते ऊंचा पेखो एंड देखो जीवित पेख है जिन्हें हर हरते आया साल संगति दर्शन पाया. I think the purpose of what we are doing Sohila Sahib is exactly these lines from Guru Granth Sahib. Anyway, I hope what I said is clear or whatever it is. Thank you very much. Very interesting. Everybody's opinion, their thoughts are wonderful. Actually, I appreciate.
हाँ जी. Thank you, Uncle Ji, for sharing your thoughts.
Look, I'm quite happy to share my thoughts. I mean, obviously these are just my thoughts, but when we talk about the threshold and we talk about crossing over, we need to have some sort of understanding as to what that really implies, and I think that was the question. So the thing is, when I say crossing over the threshold, my starting assumption is that the mind as we know it is much larger than what we are familiar with. So in Bani, this is the Inman and the Onman. So there is a universal mind that is also present within us, that we are connected to, although we are not familiar with it, right? So the point is that we are, for example, in our day-to-day lives, we are constantly working with information, stimuli that is coming to us, and we process all of this uh, through emotional responses, intuitive feelings, and logic. The problem, to my mind, is that we are primarily concerned with logic in our day-to-day lives. It becomes a habit of the mind, you see. And so when we are totally concerned with logic and analyzing, which is our mode of living, intuition and instinct is what falls into the background. Those are capacities that we have to cultivate. That is what is called going over the threshold, because they don't rely on the same tools that logic does. Okay, they rely on other tools. There are other modes of knowing within yourself, which is what we have to gradually work on, and to start basically moving into that level of the mind as well, where intuition and instinct are also interpreting, telling you what the world around you is all about and how you are supposed to react to it. Ultimately, you have to learn what your relationship with your surroundings, meaning nature, is, because you've come from nature. We've all sprouted out of nature. So that is where we have to head. But the problem is that we are living at a very sort of, I wouldn't call it superficial, but predominantly sort of logical level of the brain. And we have ignored these other faculties that we have. So for me, crossing over the threshold is simply expanding into these other uh, modes of knowledge that we all have. They are latent in us. They will actually, they will emerge when you begin to do the things that Gurbani is asking you to do, which is to essentially, move harness your helmet. So anyway, so that's really what I mean by crossing over the threshold.
ठीक है Vijay, I think very well said. So basically, we all have conditioned mind, as I call it, and the call here is to basically go past our conditioned mind and maybe question all the assumptions that we have, even uh, while reading Gurbani too. I mean, the things
Absolutely.
that we just take for granted.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely. I mean, we have to really take what we have to record and translate our personal experiences in the language of nature around you, which is not spoken language. That's the other thing I want to say. We are so hung up on words and speech and language. This is the language of silence, where intuition sits. We have to get there. We have to learn that language. That is a language too. And so when we begin to develop that dialogue with nature, you begin to understand what the interaction is. I think that's really the thrust of how I understand Gurbani.
right, and I don't think we have to learn the language because our mind already has the
Yes, no,
capacity.
you don't know, and that's what I'm saying. It's already in you. It's latent in you. It is there. It's innate to each one of us. That
Absolutely.
is what Gurbani is telling us ultimately, that it is all innate within you.
ठीक है जी.
Anji, thank you. Thank you for letting me take
नहीं,
up your
so
time.
I'm just going to open it up to anybody who has any comments. We have around 10 minutes left, but we have done 2 rounds.
Something.
So, Hanji,
Is that okay? Ravinder Vij is correct, but you see the beauty of Guru Granth Sahib. Like here we talk about Chitti, you will see the Bani about Chitti. Then Rutta, you will see Basant Rut, Patshur, the Shabad will come in Guru Granth Sahib. Later months, all the Baramaha will come twice in Guru Granth Sahib. For this explanation of each month or what we should do in each month. Everything you name, we are the birds. Kunja, Name any bird. About his nature, explanation will come to Granth Sahib in other pages. You can read it everywhere. Guru Granth Sahib is full of nature's explanation and how that nature guides us to the universal truth upper level. So this is a beauty of Guru Granth Sahib, and Bhatta Vindaviji said very correct. You see Saptak, all the days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Sombar, Mangalwar, Tithi, Gaudi, Mihine, even trees, all these like Simbaluk, the Saraira, Dirgat Muchoja, Vyaskar, Jaina Sekit, then you will see all the name any trees, Amb and Koil, Khan, everything which is in our nature is explained in Guru Granth Sahib everywhere, but slowly, I know you people know more than me, and we enjoy when we reach that part, and it will eventually take us or guide us toward the Supreme. So I know in neighborhood, then actually there, I think a flow of love is started flowing with you. That's the name of the game. Once that love is flowing, not lust. Lust is a different thing. Love. And then you will embrace everybody. There will be no problem in the family, no problem with the kids, no problem with the neighbors. The Bible says, love thy neighbor. But unless we have that attribute, which will we call it Amrit. Amrita Har ka naam hai. There are so many names. Unless you start voting within yourself, and then those are the similar attributes in the Supreme Lord. राम कबीरा एक भय हैं, कोई ना सके पहचानी. कबीर मन निर्मल भया, जैसे गंगा नीर, पाशे लागत हर फिरे, भयो कबीर कबीर. So I know it's the game of our mind, how to control, how to change it, how to make it, purify it. All this process in Guru Granth Sahib. We have to do, of course, all these 5 banis and whatever we are doing right now. But if we start reading the rest of the Guru Granth Sahib, enjoying it, make it a hobby, then we feel it's so wonderful. Let's embrace everybody. This is my feeling, this is my experience, this is how I take it. Anyway, thank you very much. I leave it to you. What you think on?
So what I hear, and I just want to add a word of caution from my own understanding.
Sure, no problem. Yes.
Like what I'm hearing is from both you and Ravinder Virje is like that Guru Path or Gurbani has basically given a multitude of examples about nature and asked us to kind of look for the one in nature. But the word of caution that I want to add is that again, we should keep this in mind that we shouldn't get hung up on nature itself. I think what Gurbani has done is observe the world around us very carefully, given us its examples, and driving home the point being Nanak karte ke kete ways. That look around the nature around you, and the message is that everything is changing. So basically, not to attach ourselves with anything and look at that ever changing, impermanent universe or nature around us, and to understand like that's the mode of Gurbani in teaching us to just let it go, to give up the eye, to let it go. So
no, I agree. But here comes the role of Gurjeet Virji. Because Jo Brahmande Soi Pinde, all this nature, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, Kaya Andar Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesha. Then we have to read Mahalla Tija, Guru Amar Das Ji. What we see in the nature, everything is within us. That's the role of Gurjeet Virji, and he emphasized on those things, and I agree. But it's a slow process. It's either Kripa, it's the grace of Guru.
So
how much we can understand. I are doing good. Everybody, your contribution is very good. That's why I like it. It may give us something new every day whenever we make a panel discussion.
I'm not denying that everything is not within us. All I was saying is that we should not get hung
No,
up
no, no, Chetandeep, I want to actually pick on that word hung up because you've used it quite a lot. It's not a matter of being hung up on anything. The fact is that I could actually tell you that you need to be hung up on nature rather than what you are hung up on right now. We are hung up on the world created by our words and meanings. We are living in the head all the time and we are hung up on that. Actually, we need to shift our focus from that and understand how nature operates. And once you begin to understand that, then what you say is true because you will begin to learn that things are not permanent. Then you will begin to understand hukam, that hukam takes its course, and that the best option for an individual is to work with hukam rather than against it. ये गल्लां सारियां समझ आनियां शुरू हो जानियां. But the point is, we are hung up not on nature, but we are hung up on this world, artificial world of meanings that we have created. You know, this conversation that we are having, ultimately, we have to get past it for that
No, no,
experience.
absolutely. I mean, I was mentioning as a step two rather than just as an immediate step. I was saying eventually that we
No,
should get.
because you use the term hung up on looking for words. Again, you must look at the words. Yes, not get hung up, but context is important because it can change the meaning of things, right?
To move further.
Yes, you have to begin to see what the usage of che is, for example. You know, because in Gurbani sometimes the same word gets used multiple ways, and then the context becomes very important. So yes, all of that has to be done, but eventually it's you are nature. You're not divorced from it. So
Absolutely.
therefore, understanding how nature operates will teach you how you operate.
Ravinder ji, you're right. Here I give you one example. Feed is talking to Koil. Kali Koil, tu kit gun kali. Kali apne piya ke ho bir ho jali. The Koil doesn't speak.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, it is from within this conversation. Like ਦਰਵੇਸ਼ਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੋੜੀ ਹੈ ਰੁੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਰਾਂਦ. ਦਰਵੇਸ਼ਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੋੜੀ ਹੈ ਰੁੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਰਾਂਦ. Read. So it's nature. He's talking to nature and learning from nature. Chetan Deepji, you are very right too. It's very good. It motivates us to further think on these things. What's your question? And I would like to appreciate, I saw your picture, you people, sorry, it's out of context. Today, there's your pictures you celebrated Vaisakhi in the school, in the kids' school somewhere. And I got all the pictures. I think it's from you.
Okay, Ji. Thank you so much. So I think we're almost out of time. Anybody else has any last minute thoughts that they want to share?
Okay, Ji. Thank you. And Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.
I guess not. So we'll.
Just a quick addition I want to add. Can you hear me?
Hanji, Meerapan ji, just a quick. We're already at 7, so just a quick 15-second
Just
thought.
a quick one. Because there was this question that was like how to cross the threshold. I know everybody explained very well, Ravinder Veji and other people. But one thing I don't know if I missed it or because mera connection vichon kharab ho raha hai. Just a quick thing ke we cannot cross the threshold on our own. We can only do ardas. We can only ask for. Our part is just read Gurbani, do ardas, do jap, and then it happens. It happens by grace. जोर न जुगती छूटे संसार जिस हाथ जोर कर वेखे सोए नानक उत्तम नीच न कोई. It has to be given by grace.
That doesn't change anything. You still have to cross the threshold.
Yeah.
Yes, ultimately, yes. But I would also add that Sangat, in Sikhi, Sangat is the key. You learn
Right.
Sangat. And we are learning from one another right now.
Okay, Ji. On that note,
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਜੀ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਜੀ।